What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a good overview of the data points, what they're truly saying and where things might be going in the short term. And over and above that, I want to bring up a very big positive, at least to me, and then a potential negative. So I'm going to go over all that. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get right to it. So currently down 2.78% on the actual chart. It is failing to transition once again to the higher percentile of the Bollinger Band. So it's been really struggling with that over the last little bit. It did have one positive kind of temporary breakthrough on March 27th, but unfortunately it did fail to really transition into this range. And of course, if you do couple that with this, so number of retail investors are getting in, but looking at stochastic, there is an underlying bullish sentiment that is starting to fade a little bit, but it is at 58, so potentially considered a little bit more overbought. So most likely I do feel that it is going to pull back down a little bit more and consolidate. But a very big point to really watch for is around the $7 range. So $7.15-ish at that stage, because in reality, if it does unfortunately break below that, this is where things could get a little bit more south. And looking at the fib levels, like I've mentioned in the past, so at least in the short term, $7.36 is at least looking at the 1-day chart. That's something to really watch for. So between $7.36 and $8.13 is most likely what it is going to be kind of transitioning and floating around for the next little bit. But like I said in previous videos, potentially the news that is coming out this week, both on Wednesday, so this one is the non-farm employment change, and then on Friday is that payroll, non-farm payroll. In reality, I think that might be a good catalyst to potentially push a lot of growth stocks such as Lucid higher. So again, it is what it is. I'll give you guys a quick overview of what shorts are doing before I go over the good news, bad news kind of thing. So short score is currently 85, utilization is 100%. And as far as what shorts are doing today, it's kind of flat. So the fact that they aren't really doubling down today could be perceived as a very bullish sign. But right now they are increasing 259,000 shares and a grand total of 145.69 million shares being shorted, which that works out to be 22.73% of the free float. So kind of interesting the fact that as much as Lucid has developed as a organization and as a company and their technology in general, it's kind of interesting to see that shorts are still floating around. So like I've said in the past, I think that Lucid does have everything on paper to really squeeze or at least get the shorts out. The only thing that right now is really holding Lucid back is production, and that's kind of tying into one of my negatives today, so I'm going to touch on that. But as far as options activity, it is a little bit more mixed. So currently there is $84,000 worth of call premiums, 107,000 for put premiums, so a little bit more orienting towards the potential downside, at least in the short term. And this is a little bit more different. I think over the last couple of days it was a lot more optimistic, especially more so near the tail end of last week, because I think it did have a lot of good opportunity and momentum to really break higher, especially on the 31st. But like I said, I think given the circumstances right now and it really failing to transition here, it's just turning people very negative. And you can tell that based on, for instance, like I said, this info right here. And as far as this, so these are all the transactions so far on the secondary market. So in general, kind of low. My apologies. This is the dark pool. So as far as dark pool, so two transactions, 148,159. That's very much linked to shorting, typically at least. And when it comes down to it as well, just to give you a good overview of, for instance, on the secondary market, as you can see right here, there's been a fair amount. So 1.61 million at the first thing of the morning, and you can tell based on the bid and the ask, it was a buy. And I think overall over the last couple of days, it kind of seems stagnant, so it kind of looks normal in my opinion based on that. But I think right now what is really driving Lucid up, down, sideways is just the technicals and the broader market, so just be aware of that. So when it comes down to, like I said, I'm going to start off with the good news, and I think this one is a little bit more good news for just me. And of course, I'm not a financial advisor, so you guys do your own due diligence at the end of the day. So when it comes down to Lucid though, especially more so their marketing, I have brought up quite a lot in the past that I think it's just subpar. And when I bring up negatives, it's just because I want the best for Lucid. I like their vehicles. I absolutely think that they are a game changer. Just the fact that Lucid hasn't really pushed as much as they can is because of a lot of different factors, but one of which is the marketing. So I've really hated on Jeff Curry in the past, and I'm sure some of you may or may not be aware of that. And because of the latest layoffs that did happen last Friday, if you guys take a look at their leadership, and on a side note, I believe on the Wednesday, I did email Lucid itself and asking if Jeff Curry was going to be or is still employed, and they just simply answer, say they don't give or disclose that information. But as you can see, let's meet their the leadership right now. So Peter, Sherry, we already know, Derek, Eric, Michael. And right here, actually no, right, I believe it was right here. So clearly this Stephen David is not Jeff Curry. And let's just keep scrolling down a little bit more. And so far, it doesn't look like they have any VP of communications in here. So again, this is a positive to myself because I think he was a very big liability to the company. But Jeff Curry appears, based on this at least, to have been removed from the leadership. And there's Sultan, definitely the man in behind the scenes with Lucid. But like I've said in the past, I think just that Jeff Curry was a very big liability. So some of you may or may not agree with me on that aspect, but definitely, I think Lucid made the correct move by kind of getting rid of him. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. This is a little bit more of a twisted positive, but like I said, it's a positive for me. But when it comes down to a potential negative, some of you may or may not know, before they even started to announce any demand issues, I started to do videos. It was, I think it was in September, saying that there are signals that there is demand issues. And a lot of you disagreed with me, but turns out it was very much right with the AGT, so Air Grand Touring. But as you can see based on this, it says, "Dear customer, Lucid Air Pure is here and we're happy to announce the deadline to order at the original pricing from the time of your reservation from $77,400 plus the optional features, of course, has been extended to October 31st, 2023. So yes, a typical person might see that and say, oh yeah, that's pretty good stuff. But for someone that likes to read between the lines and see exactly why Lucid is doing this, usually does signal that things aren't really working out. Because if something is working out for a company, they don't need to add discounts. They don't need to extend pricing or anything like that. So in general, I think this is a little bit more of a precursor, and it really does suck the fact that it is in regards to the Air Pure, because the Pure in reality was going to be and is the only driving factor for 2023 for production. Because if they don't produce any Pures, then I think Lucid might be kind of SOL, unfortunately. But that's just my own interpretation. I'm not a financial advisor, like I already said. So hopefully this doesn't result in a little bit more of a demand issue with Pure, because based on the Q4 earnings, they did say that there is a bottleneck as far as some components of the Pure in particular, and that they do anticipate it to really resolve itself by Q2. So we are officially in Q2, and this was just recently announced. So hopefully nothing really detrimental. But of course, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.